call this meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Present.
Sophia Gusson.
Present.
Jason Rand.
Present.
Jane Rosenbaum. Absent. Guillermo Gomez.
Present.
Gerald Trueheart.
Present.
Lucy Vandenberg. Present. Denise Millington. Absent. We have a quorum.
New Jersey public meetings law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies in which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted on. Upon the rules of this act, the Trenton Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting by publicizing the date, time, and place, therefore posted in the Central Services Building, 108 North Clinton Avenue, City Clerk's Office, City Hall, and the Times. Anyone whose name is on the mailing list should receive a notice. Formal action will take place at this meeting.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to state for the public clarity in that there have been some staff persons that have submitted rights notices for all discussion to occur within the public. And so for those particular staff members, they need to understand that this is the reappointment meeting and there will not be any executive session. So any discussion will occur in public. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda with the addendum.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
D.A. Graham.
Yes.
Sophia Gusson.
Yes.
Jason Rand. Jane Rosenbaum. Absent. Guillermo Gomez.
Yes.
Gerald Trueheart.
Yes.
Lucy Vandenberg.
Yes.
Denise Millington. Absent. Motion passed.
Thank you. We'll move to public participation now. The first name on the list is Don Howler. I'm sorry, Howler.
3 minutes.
Each 3 minutes.
Good morning, board.
Make sure the top button is turned on so it's red, and then so we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank
Is
you.
that better? Well,
Yeah.
hear myself?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, board members, Superintendent Dr. Durant. Thank you for hearing me this morning. My name is Dawn Harlan, and I'm a literacy leader at PJ Hill Elementary School. On Friday, May 1st, I received an email informing me that I was to meet with Ms. Pam Owens the following Monday morning, and that the meeting was regarding my position for the next school year. Of course, I was in a quandary as to why this meeting would take place. Nevertheless, I attended the meeting and was disheartened when I found out that I would not be renewed as a school literacy leader during the 2015-2016 school year. My first question was, how was this decision made? My second question was, what evidence was provided to support it? After all, I have only had one observation this school year, which occurred on January 28th by my supervisor and not my building principal. The issue here is not just about my being told that I would not be asked back in this position. The issue is that there was no due process. The decision was arbitrary and capricious, and most of all, personal. I have been a dedicated teacher for Trenton Public Schools for 10 years. More than that, I was an outstanding student in this district and was fortunate enough to be a part of the Gifted and Talented program at Hill Elementary School, Junior 4, which is now done, and Trenton Central High School. This district, Trenton, groomed me to be here in front of you today. So it is with a very heavy heart that I must voice my disappointment in the people who sent me out into this world to be successful. During this year, I have not only received training from Trenton Public Schools, but also from the New Jersey Education Association, where I am an apprentice for the Professional Development and Instructional Issues Division, chosen from a group of about 30 teachers and professionals throughout the state of New Jersey to represent the state of New Jersey throughout the state and also throughout the country. I have also come to work early, as most teachers do, and stay late. Even as requests and emails for support went unanswered, I persevered and continued to do my job. I will leave you worked together collaboratively to make a presentation to the board. 2 years later, under new leadership, I am now considered by the powers that be incapable of performing my duties. Your ability to support this decision reflects heavily, very heavily, on the district's mission statement. I am a graduate of Trent Public Schools. I am a motivated teacher, literacy leader, co-worker, nurturer of children, and I will continue to be successful in this school district. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Ms. Williams? Five minutes.
Thank you. Indulge me more because I'm running late. Traffic is heavy. Our president is stuck on 295, but she wishes to address this board in regards to the reduction in force as it pertains to math and literacy leaders. First, I'm going to speak to the board members as an ex-school board member. You have several roles and responsibilities as board members. The most important role is to research and to make sure the information that you're being provided by those recommendations are correct. You have a fiduciary duty to know the No Child Left Behind waiver from the beginning to the end, because that's what's governing this district. And I hope all of you, all of the new board members and existing board members have read No Child Left Behind and the current waiver that the state of New Jersey has been granted that will govern this school district. Have you read that waiver? Have you read the granted extension to the state of New Jersey that is governing this district? This is how this district is operating. You need to dig deep before you make decisions that are being recommended by the superintendent. Oftentimes, we know that there are certain agendas that need to be promoted that may not be in the best interest of our students that you could be voting on. Have you done your research? Have you studied the issues? Have you questioned? Or have you just accepted the information that has been provided to you by the superintendent and the leadership team? You have a responsibility to the students, the parents, and the community to be well informed and educated on the rules that govern the state of New Jersey as it pertains to public schools, especially schools at risk such as the Trenton Public School System. So, before I begin today, I'm going to plead with you to know what you're voting on, to ask the hard and tough questions. If you're not learned in the area, then you need not vote and say, I have to go back and do some more research on this area. I don't know enough about it right now, but all of you sitting here should know a Chief NJ, and you should know the No Child Left Behind waiver that's governing this district right now. And if you don't, then you should question why you're sitting here. It's just not about voting on recommendations and sitting here thinking you're protecting the interests of the students in the community if you don't know the larger picture of what's governing it all, that's impacting it all. The state formula, why we continue to incur shortfalls, why we will continue to have several series of layoffs within the coming year, and how are we going to prepare for that? How are we going to prepare to be a 21st century school that will graduate students to succeed in their choice of college or career? You are not sitting there to rubber stamp everything that comes before you from the superintendent or the leadership team. Here is why I'm here. My first question, and I want you to write these questions down because I want you to go back and ask the tough, hard questions, Jane. I need to know when the Department of Education and Frank Grossman became an employee of this district. When has Frank Grossman been allowed to promote employees? He is employed by the Department of Education. He is the Executive Director of RAC Region 4. He is not an employee of this district. He is not allowed to demote our employees. We have 4 teacher leaders in math and literacy that Mr. Grossman was involved in determining whether or not they will continue to keep their employment in this district. To my knowledge, I have not seen any board action where Frank Grossman from the RAC is an employee of this district, being compensated by this district, who has the authority to demote employees. That's why I asked if you read the waiver. The waiver is clear. The RAC cannot involve itself in demoting employees. It can hire, reassign, but it's based on the SCIP plan. Any decision that is currently being made by this leadership team should involve the SCIP. That means teachers, principals, parents should be all involved in the governance and the decision-making that impact their school. It should not be solely based upon the decisions of the administration and Frank Grossman of the RAC. The only person sitting in this building this morning is Les Richards, who is the state monitor that can veto and overturn anything in this district. It is not Frank Grossman from the RAC. And you know the trouble that this district has incurred due to the imposed and dictates of Frank Grossman and his colleagues in this district. We have been battling RAC and Frank Grossman and his inept staff since they have been in this district. They don't know literacy, they don't know math. We have young people coming in here with less experience than teachers in the building. I know, but this is important because I'm asking that you pull those names today because Frank Grossman cannot demote people. He cannot determine who will stay in their jobs. He is employed by DOE who are trying to shut our doors down, and you know it. And we have to sit here and we have to fight to make sure that our doors remain open, and people like Frank Grossman, Governor Christie will not shut our doors down. How dare he come in here and decide what teachers will stay? And let me say one last thing, because this is very important, Vice President. In the decision to demote these individuals, which is against the law, it's against Achieving J, okay? We have several principals making decisions not to reappoint individuals that they have never evaluated. How about that? How about that? How intelligent and smart is that? How can you decide to demote people that you never evaluated? Achieving J, and that's why you should know it, calls for 3 evaluations of tenured employees. Achieving J was put in place to
Ms. Williams, will you take?
assess. I'm going to take her time because she's on the road. Because she asked me to speak to this regard because it's very important. Because of illegal things are going on and taking place in this district. Achieving J, Teaching J, now Achieving J, was designed to enhance the practice of teachers, to make them become effective and highly effective. If you are partially effective or ineffective, you have 2 years to show growth. Frank Grossman has decided that he's going to violate Achieving J. Teachers have not been evaluated 3 times. No instructional support plan put in place that this board approved to help the practice. You approved the document. You're violating your own rules and procedures as outlined by your DEAC committee. And the DEAC is governed by the statute. Everything has been violated. That's why I'm saying when you see those names, know the facts. Know Achieving J. Now, I'm going to ask you, how can you fire someone, demote someone that you never even evaluated? It is my understanding that these group of principals came together in central leadership and determined which teacher leaders of math and literacy that they wanted to keep in their buildings. Well, how can someone do that if they never evaluated these individuals? But yet, their names appear on a board agenda. I would ask the superintendent if these individuals have never been evaluated by their building principal, if supports have never been put in place, then how can they intelligently make a decision to remove these individuals and demote these individuals? But of course, this district is used to multiple lawsuits. because they violate the law and teachers' rights on a daily basis. You just have to get the printout of the amount of money that this district had to pay out in litigation for clear violations. But I want you to know how Frank Grossman can violate a G&J, how this leadership can allow a G&J to be violated, and how dare they put the names of those individuals on the agenda to be demoted, to be determined, when they have not had their due process according to the law, a G&J. I want you to read it. I want you to ask the superintendent, what does the law say as it pertains to teacher evaluation? I want you to ask this Board of Education, this superintendent, have these teachers had 3 evaluations? Have the principals who are recommending these demotions evaluated these individuals? Have the teachers had their summatives done that may put them in the effective or highly effective range before you make a determination to demote people? Intelligent people don't do these things. Educated people don't do these things. We teach our children to follow the law of the land. Don't break the law. You go to jail. What right does this district have to break the law of the G&J?
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
So I'm asking you to pull the names of the math and literacy leaders because they're in direct violation of the G&J, and I'm asking that you leave the waiver, and I'm asking the monitor not to allow Frank Grossman the right to demote our teachers. You're the only one sitting here by the Department of Education that can veto and have that right. Frank Grossman does not work for this district, and if you allow Frank Grossman, you can turn it off if you want to make decisions. Shame on you, Gerald.
Ms. Williams, in all due respect, thank you very much. In all due respect, Ms. Williams, that's enough.
You don't want to hear about this law. Because it makes you look ugly.
Ms. Johnson,
Ugly. How dare you violate teachers' rights?
Good morning.
How dare Frank Grossman come here and sign his stay?
And I think I also have the next one.
no, Ms. Williams took.
That's fine. That's fine. Please excuse me for being late. I think that the train derailment definitely impacted traffic this morning on 295. So it took me an hour for a 40-minute ride. But in any case, we're here on a very serious matter. As Ms. Williams has said, this board was appointed to serve the community of Trenton. Each of you have, through taking on the responsibility to do so with fidelity. This board has renewed the contract for our superintendent to service the community of Trenton and to do so with fidelity. We have confidence that the superintendent and this board will do what they've been appointed to do. Not to relinquish their power or their authority to the RAC when RAC does not have the authority. Please take time to be properly informed. You need to read 18A. Sections, chapter 7, G, I believe it is. F, 7F, 2B. It will tell you what RAC can and cannot do. While they are here to work with the district, they're not here to control this district.
That's right.
His duty is to assist you in the 8 turnaround principles that were written in the NCLB waiver,
That's right.
which simply says that they are here as
a support, not as a director.
That's right.
Within its contents and within the responsibilities of RAC as outlined on the New Jersey Department of Education's webpage, I hope you all go there, are the duties that he has. Simply to assist in the hiring of leaders, reassignments, and professional development from school to school. That's it. He has no authority to remove anyone from a position. Now, if I'm being given truthful information, I've been told that he has made some recommendations to remove some of our members from their positions. He doesn't have that authority. Also in the waiver, it simply says that the educator effectiveness rubrics, evaluation systems, will be the only means of removing people from positions. It simply says, if you read Teach NJ and Achieve NJ, that we as a state want effective and highly effective educators in their positions. There is a process for removing ineffective and partially effective educators from their roles. In this case, that procedure has not been followed. It has been violated, and you have a responsibility not to allow that violation to take place in Trenton Public Schools. And we're going to hold you accountable for making that so. I'm certain that our monitor is familiar with all of this. The only one who has power to override this board in this room is he. So if this takes place, we know who the responsible parties are. Please be clear. While Frank Grossman may be overstepping the lines, he will not be the one held responsible. The Trenton Education Association advocates for its members who do their job. In this matter, we have 4 individuals, each who have clean, unblemished records, who have given to this community to the highest degree. Highly effective educators.
Naomi, your time is up.
I'm going to ask for leniency because I am pleading for jobs. And I need 1 more minute. With all due respect, I need 1 more minute. I represent 1,143 people, and I'm here to be their voice this morning.
1 minute.
These individuals have given up themselves. We have one who has historically trained leaders in this district who could write the handbook on how to do it. We have 3 others who have exemplary records and who are being singled out because of possibly how they look or who likes or dislikes their personality. Who wants to work with them and who feels a threat of their knowledge.
That's true.
Well, I say you need to make sure that that does not happen and reappoint these 4, 1 math leader, 3 literacy leaders to their rightful duties. Thank you.
That's right.
Okay, our next speaker is Ernest Perez. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, board members. not an ideal employee to this district, but I have been faithful, honest, dedicated. And I think that the way that this board is headed is in the wrong direction because of mismanagement, miscommunication, and I believe that in the long run, after all these cuts are done across the board, or under the board, behind the board, that you're going to regret most of the decisions that are being made here today. You have dedicated people here that you are going to replace. In my instance, personally, my position is being abolished, supposedly because of budgetary. At the present time, you have been paying an outside outfit twice as much as I make a year. Obviously, I don't know if the board knows it, but it does come as a surprise to some of you. Maybe that's part of the not knowing, and like the lady said, you need to research your decisions rather than go with recommendations. My wife was on the board for 10 years. 10 years. And when the agenda came, it was an all-week effort for her to research and study everything that was being proposed. And she made a very informative decision on her part, not the recommendations of others. And you are all charged with that today. And every time that you are up there on that board and here, you are charged with that. And I'd like to thank the district for giving me the 23 years to be able to make a difference in this district.
Ernie, your time is up.
And as far as the board, God help you, because you do not know what's going on. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Wayne DeAngelis.
Good morning, board members.
Wayne, you get 5 minutes.
Sure. My name is Wayne DeAngelo, President of the Mercer-Burlington County Building Trades Council. I'm here today to ask a couple of questions. If I can have it noted in the record and have a written response, please. The questions that I have are in reference to the 2 carpenters and the 2 painters who received termination letters. First question I have is, what was your reasoning for the termination of the positions of the carpenters and the painters in the Board of Ed contract, and the choice to choose the word abolishment in that termination letter? How was this decision reached? Why choose this option? What was the thought process in choosing this option? What other options were discussed amongst the board members? And did you take every possible means to avoid layoffs of these 4 individuals? In the future, how will you pay for these services, and who will provide them? Where will the financial resources come from? As many of these services are life safety. Thank you for your time. And I'm asking you at this present time to rescind the termination letters of the 2 carpenters and the 2 painters from today's agenda. Thank you.
Our next speaker is,
I have a teacher who did not have a chance to sign it because of traffic and wants to speak about her job, Franklin Stockman.
I'm sorry, Madam President, TA, point of order, we don't have a list. You can wait till we finish with that list and they'll address it at that point. I think there's the next speaker that's on the list that we should receive. There's somebody else, but the president.
Your mic is not on.
I think everybody heard me though, right? No. Okay, what I'm saying is that we have a list that's in place. We're gonna go through that list. At the end of that list, if there's something that the board president wishes to entertain, we will entertain. But we're gonna proceed in an orderly manner, not with interruptions. Who's next on the list?
okay, our next speaker is Jean Tunstall.
Good morning. I come to you on behalf of TASA. I know that you have had to make hard decisions. As a representative of TASA, many of the principals are kind of disenfranchised. I know that there are contracts, but many TDA members have chosen. Principals did not know. We are responsible for the academic of students. We are held responsible. And many of the people that come into our buildings, we are not aware of. We know nothing of them. We do not know their background. But principals are held responsible for the academics of their building. There has to be another way that this can be done, that principals are involved in the process of who comes into the building. I ask that as you go forward, that the only thing that I can say at this point, that everything that you do, let's do it for our children. They are the most important. That is why we're here. So your decisions should not be personal. They should not be.
Naomi, you have a request for a speaker?
Yes, I do. Francine Stockton, who's one of the literacy leaders, would like to speak. Francine Stockton.
Board members, does anyone have an objection? Okay.
Thank you.
She has 3 minutes.
This won't take very long. I was very disturbed to find out when I opened my email on Sunday that I had to report to Human Resources on Monday. On my way out of the building on Friday, one of the assistant principals asked me, had I gone downtown to pick? Was I going downtown to pick? And I thought, pick what? And I continued to move on. So, nevertheless, when I came in on Monday and I found out that my position at Dunn Middle School was being terminated, I was a bit surprised. And my saying is always this: if you're familiar with Star Wars, because I am a Star Wars fan, there's a disturbance in the universe. There's a disturbance in the process. When the process of evaluating teachers becomes personal, when it becomes capricious, when it becomes arbitrary, when you cannot, when teachers perhaps or leaders feel that they can't say certain things for fear of, well, I'm not going to say retaliation, but just for fear. We are here as change agents. We are here because we have the opportunity to affect the lives of children. If you affect the lives of teachers and you help support them, then therefore it trickles down to the children. But this trickle-down effect is causing a lot of dissension, and it's so unnecessary. So therefore, if your leadership feels as if there are certain things that have to happen, then that trickles down to anyone else. I still support this process, but there's a disturbance in this process. And if we don't correct it, then more lives are going to be affected. It's going to create distrust, and we know we can't function with distrust at all. This Danielson framework was meant to support teachers. It was not meant to be an I gotcha. It wasn't meant to be that. And if there's ever any problem in this process, we need to take another look at it, and we need to take a look at the tool itself. Because I was told on many occasions when I really created a mess that it wasn't the tool, it was the operator. Thank you.
Next is board member questions on the consent agenda.
Excuse me, I got one thing to say, if it's possible. I didn't have a chance to sign up this morning. It's just going to take me 2 minutes. I'll be under your 3-minute mark there. Is it okay? Gary?
No.
It's not all right?
I'm going to say it anyway.
I represent the Carpenters Union. Believe me, I don't need money. I represent the Carpenters Union, and I would represent the carpenters that you have abolished. By abolishing the whole grade, I would like to know who will do the structural service that you're going to need if there's an issue in the buildings, how you're going to get a contractor in here that's going to know the buildings like these men do and be able to accomplish that work. And I would like to know when is that going to happen, how are the parents going to be serviced, how are the children going to be serviced. I'm sure you have a lot to take in this morning, but that's going to be an issue. These guys here provided a service for you. Listen, she was late, he hasn't been paying attention, and I'm trying to talk to him.
With all due respect, sir, you should have been here during the budget process. You didn't have a seat. You said you needed a minute and your time is up. Your time is up, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, back to board member comments on the agenda.
Yes. I would like to say something.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to say something. Okay. So, I'm going to back up a second. I serve on the HR committee for the board. I professionally work in HR as well. So one of the things I had concerns about, and this is one of the things I raised to the superintendent in our committee meeting, was about those 4 positions. I'm looking into, I've asked the superintendent to give us some more information about that, about those positions. So from what we have determined right now is that in order for us to move this forward, if we do not vote today, those 4 people will not have a contract. So the to be determined is still was put there so the superintendent could come back and give some answers to why this situation is in the situation it's in. So there has not been a determination on these 4 individuals. Like I said, I was concerned about it and raised that concern, and the superintendent has agreed to further look into this issue to determine whether or not or what course of action needs to be taken. And so that's why the to be determined is on the agenda for those 4 positions. So that's why I'm, to my fellow board members that if we don't vote on what this is, the way it is presented today, these 4 people will not have a contract going forward. So that's what I have to say.
Any other board member comments? Yes, me. I too sit on the HR committee and asked questions about this situation. And I wanted to do the investigation into why this was happening now, until I understood that if we did it now, that they wouldn't have a contract and there'd be no guarantee of their jobs. So that if we put the not to be determined, they'd at least have their contract, and then we could do the investigation as to what was going on and whether or not this was something that was fair, and whether or not it's something that should have been done at all. So don't think that we're going to just ignore it, because we're not. Both DA and I want to know exactly what happened.
For a point of clarification for the board members, where you have tenured teachers will automatically have their contract renewed. The issue comes up when you're looking for someone that you want to RIF. You have to give them the 60-day notice. If you have a non-tenured teacher, and if they do not receive a contract, then they are not renewed and they go through the Donaldson process. Now, I do not recall how many of these school leaders are tenured or non-tenured. I believe most of them are tenured. So, are there any who are non-tenured? So,
No, they're not. They're all tenured.
They're all
So
tenured.
again, what was presented was that we are, and I actually presented to the HR committee my concern as well about these 4 issues, and we talked through and asked questions. And so we said that what we would do is on this agenda put to be determined. I'm the one that put that there, to be determined, so that they would not be placed back into a classroom, which was previous discussion, which is what the members spoke about, and that they would not also be denied from being put back into their current position. It was more of a neutral stance to say that we needed to look further based on the questions you had, and actually I presented it as such that it would be to be determined, because I wanted it clearly stated that we would look at that, and that it was a decision that's not yet been finalized. So on this agenda, voting for this 4 is not saying that they will be removed, and it is not saying that they will be remaining. It is saying that we have to finish looking into all the questions that Ms. Williams raised, that Ms. LaFleur raised, as well as some of the teacher raised. We have to make sure that we have all those answers. To their point, I agree, and we need to make sure that it's looked at thoroughly before, so that people did have a due process and that people are treated fairly with that. So that is why it is on here as due process, to be determined, not to be determined, because again, they did come down to pick in human resources a position, to my understanding, and they did select an actual assignment rather than to place that assignment on here. We did not do that. We put to be determined, because if you place that assignment on here, then you would be voting today to have them removed from that position. Although it is not a demotion, it is a different position. It is still, it's a different job title, different job functions. But again, if we were to put it on here, that the position they came to pick, then we would be asking you to vote to have them taken out of their current position. So we chose not to at this time, and then we will have this corrected by the May 26th board agenda.
One last point of clarification, Madam President, and that is that the teacher leader positions are part of the teachers. They're treated as part of the teacher's contract, same terms and conditions. So although there is that discussion around removing, it's not a demotion in terms of their salary. I want to make sure board members are clear that whether they're in the classroom or they're in a teacher leader position, they're still receiving the same compensation, same terms and conditions. There are other issues that,
conditions, not the same conditions.
if you allow me, in terms of salary, health benefits, and I had not finished my statement, if I may finish mine, you were allowed to finish yours. The issue becomes whether or not removing them from the position without making sure that there has been proper due process, that they have gone through the proper evaluation process, becomes a determination as to whether or not the actions are arbitrary and capricious. And that is the point that the superintendent has to continue to do his due diligence on those particular issues and whether or not there's been any violations of a chief and J. Thank you.
I think I'm unsatisfied with DA's comments as well as Denise. You heard the superintendent as well as our general counsel. I think I'm ready to move to a vote.
Okay, board member action on the consent agenda, do we have a motion?
You just did.
Oh, that was the motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Roll call.
D.A. Graham.
Yes.
Sophia Gussie.
Yes.
Jason Redd. Jane Rosamond. Guillermo Gomez.
Yes.
Gerald Truhart.
Yes.
Lucy Vandenberg. Yes. Denise Millington.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.